Hi everyone, welcome to the ONOS TST meeting. This week we were supposed to have a presentation about the NEMO declarative services network programming language, but unfortunately there must have been some miscommunication and the presenter is not available to do the presentation. So in light of this, we thought maybe we would just do the weekly community acknowledgements and then maybe open the floor for just some general questions. It's most likely going to be just a short meeting. So with that, maybe I can ask if it's possible to do the shout outs.
In terms of if people can hear me, in terms of shout outs, just like to thank the people who successfully found and shared the solution to the ONOS Easter egg challenge. On the community acknowledgement wiki page, there's a link to each the tweets that people showed the solution to. So Seb Millardo, UI Guru, sorry if I'm mispronouncing names, Kay Sedaris, and our very own Mateo all successfully found that. So thank you to everybody, and shirts are on the way. So hopefully that was fun, and hopefully that was a good intro to the ONOS front-end code. So thanks, everyone.
Great. Thanks, Dave. So if anybody has any questions or any topics or suggestions, please feel free to.
Yeah, so I have one.
Yes.
So the latest the Dave announced sent the announcement about the new collaborators.
Mm-hmm.
They will bring in the Kafka interface in the northbound to get more non-Java applications running on top of ONOS, right? That is a great news. So I want a lesson from Thomas and the TST teams, and how does this northbound will help immediate help on the which area, which new applications will bring to the ONOS. And how is one? Secondly, is how does this northbound interface collaborate with the intent and existing ones in the future?
So, well, I mean, I guess we're gonna have to, well, first of all, generally speaking, right, you just basically get ability to get events outside of the platform. And so I think it's a very useful functionality, but as to what other application it opens, I mean, it's just a vehicle for enabling off-platform applications to be able to interact with ONOS, and what those applications are, it's anybody's guess, right? It just simply broadens the reach of the platform.
So what is Kafka, and how does it compare to other, I guess RPC and RMI type systems?
Probably not the best authority on this, but the project is supposed to integrate Kafka with ONOS in a way where events will be propagated out of the ONOS cluster, which is many machines, right? In a reasonable and predictable way, where, for example, in a reliable way, and so that you don't, because currently, if you were to just take the events that each machine emanates in local context and ship them externally, then we may have one of the following scenarios happen. We receive events multiple times, we receive events out of order, potentially, which might be fine, but we also might not receive events. And so it basically presents a very complex programming model for the external applications, because they might be getting duplicates or things jumbled up. And so the whole idea of this integration is so that it basically puts the events in a consolidated way and a neat way on a bus, so that where they will basically arrive, one notification and only one notification will arrive for each internal event. And that will then allow applications that run somewhere else off platform to be able to receive these messages and react to them and interact with ONOS correspondence.
Okay.
Just so hard.
So it's just okay. So if you receive those messages, what is the interface that the code is going to use to?
And this is what I was referring to. I'm not an authority on this. I don't know the details of that.
Okay.
All of you. I don't know how that looks. Kind of like
it'd be interesting to have a presentation on that, like
sure
what they're actually trying to do, and sort of how this is working. You know, on one side, I see. I mean, to answer Patrick's question, I think your answer is a good one, which is it does nothing. It doesn't change anything as far as enabling new applications because it's all Turing machines. Like you could have written it in Java to begin with. So it's not doing anything that you can't already do. Yeah, it's not. You know, it's like, well, you know, it doesn't make it easy to write C++ apps that run on ONOS. Well, probably not.
Yeah.
You know,
well, but you can run them off-platform right now, right? So you can write native code, or you can, let's say, if you have a hosting environment, or if you are a system that does something, but maybe now it needs to do something on the network, then you have now a choice whether you write it on ONOS directly using, let's say, Java and our APIs, or you have a choice to run it already in the existing platform and simply interact with Java in some more reasonable way than, let's say, REST API. Maybe REST API. For this particular model, REST API being a request response is maybe not ideal for event-based type information exchange, right? So, I mean, that's certainly interesting. We'll see. I mean,
what's your thinking, or what's the thinking of us kind of team as far as support? You know, as far as having generic support for applications that don't run in Corral, which is to say, running, like you said, in some other location on the network, running in another process, et cetera. You know, are thinking, Kafka for messaging and gRPC for RPCs, or what is your sort of thinking how it's going to evolve?
Okay, so I mean, it's a good question. Right now, the focus has been primarily on platform applications. That's why there's a lot of investment in creating nice APIs, distributed systems. It's a platform, and to be able to track the state in a reliable way, scalable way, and performant way, we provided the primitives. So right now, emphasis is for on-platform applications. Of course, we understand that it's not everything. So you might want to write applications off-platform. And to that end, we at least initially provided a REST API because it's a fairly widely accepted mechanism. It has some nice properties, but it's not good for everything. And so now the field is open for other people to do their own integrations. But I think having a gRPC-based, basically set of bindings for interacting with ONOS from off-platform destinations via gRPC would be really, really nice. And I think that's something we should take a look into. And as a matter of fact, I think Utah started doing. There's actually code checking from is it from EMU days? It's EMU, right?
Somewhere around that.
For basically that it's a limited, I guess, proof of concept or prototype that provides gRPC access to some of the core entities, but it's not wide enough yet. But it's interesting proof of concept in the sense that helps validate some of that approach. It was done on behalf of the eCore stuff, right?
The thing is that it's good. Probably can be used for the SASPAN part of it, but in order to do the cluster thing, it's gonna get very tricky. So I would like to seek for something else. But
yeah, so I think it should be used for the communications external to the cluster, not intra. Right. I think that intra-cluster communications, currently, we use Cryo and serialization. It's essentially Java serialization ++, right? But that has some issues with portability in terms of when you change version, you can't have two different versions of objects operating within a cluster at the same time, which is something we may need to take a look at because it's a barrier to rolling upgrade.
Right.
But I think it's a separate subject. I would treat it as separate because those are private communications and we should be able to evolve those however we see fit. The external communications, kind of like providing whether it's REST API or some external mechanism for efficient programming of the ONOS from off-platform, that should be treated in itself as a broader subject. Specifically for Kafka, this particular project is it's just a specific integration with an existing messaging platform. And I think it's useful. But it needs to be done with care to take into account some of the existing distributed nature of ONOS and the issues that would arise from an implementation would not make it very useful. If Madame were here, I'm sure he would be able to elaborate in more detail. So you can already answer your question. So maybe we can take this opportunity on do a quick update, Brian, on where we are with buckifying things.
Sure. I don't think we should do a demo yet, but
No, not demo. No, I wasn't suggesting demo. But
we could. Sure, why not? So basically, what needed to be done in order to enable buck-based builds was a couple things. We needed to be able to generate jars with the OSGI manifest. We needed to have XML files for SCR for the runtime components, some config.def files. We also needed to deal with how do we shade jars, how do we build WAR files, how do we do things like check style, which is all features that are not part of Buck to begin with. And so all the stuff that I've just said, we've got pretty much working. All of core ONOS can be built with Buck. There's still some problems with the tests. But those artifacts that are built can be launched into a Carafe container and play nicely with apps that are built using Maven. So where we're going next is fixing ONOS GUI, fixing tests, and then providing a mechanism to do application packaging in Buck. And once all of that's done, then we should be able to turn it on. There's obviously some other stuff like Swagger and JavaDoc generation and a few other optimizations really that we'd like to do. But hopefully by Friday we can do a demo of a ONOS end application running completely built using Buck.
is it this Friday or next Friday?
Whenever I think we're doing a sprint demo on Friday, this Friday.
Next
Next Friday?
This Friday.
This Friday.
There'll be some agreement. I thought it was this Friday.
I was going off of the burn down chart.
10 a.m. this Friday.
Okay.
So anyway, the point is that the Buck integration is going pretty well. There definitely have been some bumps along the road, but the good news is that the initial results that we have are pretty promising, and I think build times will be significantly improved as well.
That's the goal.
That's the sprint.
The goal is to improve build time.
Yeah, and the other thing that's pretty, there's some really interesting results that you make a change somewhere and you run the build again and you just watch kind of like what it's actually building and you're like, wait, what about all the other stuff? Oh yeah, the other stuff didn't need to be built. So the idea is that a developer can touch code, not necessarily aware of the dependencies or the effects of that code, and just run a full build, and the tooling figures out what needs to be done.
Much like Make, or
I would argue it's better than Make, but
SCons,
yeah.
or whatever. But much like dependency tracking build systems have done since the beginning of time.
Sure.
So
Which apparently Maven can't do for reasons unknown.
well, it does certain things and it doesn't do something. So well, I also wanted to point out that we use this as also as an exercise to demystify some of the, I guess you could call it cargo cult, Maven POM file artifacts that slowly accumulated and grown in ONOS over the last year.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of interesting things that we've realized, like the fact that in our ONOS third-party jar, which had a bunch of random third-party artifacts in it, we also included things like ONOS API for reasons unknown. So there was
there's OpenFlow.
Oh yeah,
OpenFlow.
well, so OpenFlow was weird. Third-party was weird.
Yes.
So there's a bunch of stuff we're actually fixing.
That explains some of the bizarre and bad behavior we've seen with Maven, where you compile something but it doesn't actually compile because you have a stale replica and it's some other library and things like that.
It's possible. But yeah, I guess the point is that we've also been using this as an opportunity to clean up some of the stuff in Maven as we've discovered it. And we've actually simplified. The idea is we're trying to move away from these magic Uber jars that just contained a bunch of random artifacts and moved to OSGI compliant jars for each of the libraries that we depend on.
Yeah, a lot of these things, they were, some of them may have been necessary in the beginning, because we found stuff that wasn't OSGI ready before is now OSGI simply just by bumping certain versions up. And some of it was just our own misconfiguration that has proliferated. So I think it's going to be a really, really useful exercise. There's many, many benefits.
Not the least of which is not having to wait 14 minutes.
Yep. So, so does anybody have anything else to add to throw in a quick? If not, I think we can just call it a day and everybody can start doing whatever they were doing for a meeting. All right. Thanks. Bye, everybody.